let's go. Episode 7.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks.
All right.
We've not been able to get our life in order to do this weekly lately.
Yeah, I'm just making sure audio's good. Okay, all right. Yeah, so, what's been going on?
I have COVID.
Lovely. And I'm somehow still dodging COVID bullets over here.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Man, I've been down for the count the past 2 days too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Lots of stuff going around. I mean, even the kids were hacking up, but they were negative, and yeah, it was just you so far. And you don't even know anybody.
I'm convinced that it's from jury duty.
That's so funny you did jury duty. And then I was going to bring this up because it's not on our list, but we've been crushing some TV shows lately. And I thought we would talk TV shows at one point, but we did. Is it called jury duty?
It's called jury duty.
Yeah, that was great.
It came out like right after, during COVID.
It was recorded during COVID because the whole thing, they're all like masked up.
And this is my second time watching it, but you're watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious.
Yeah, it was really good. It's basically The Truman Show, and I'm going to introduce you to that movie.
I haven't seen that,
tonight.
Of course. So something about me is that if you've asked me, have you seen XYZ?
Or my entire vocabulary is made up of movie quotes.
Yeah, I won't
and you're just like,
get it. And
no
I have
idea.
90% chance I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But jury duty, the show, basically everyone's an actor except one guy.
Yeah.
And they script this whole jury duty around his reactions. So
definitely recommend it. A good little binge watch, and it's quick and short.
Yeah,
like we did it this weekend.
Really
the
quick.
Whole thing.
Yeah, just while we were
coaching and working and whatever else.
And we have for months now been rewatching Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
we have one episode left. Finally,
we're on to the finale, the grand finale.
Finale. You say that weird.
All my A's and A's are opposite of yours because
Canadian
versus American.
All right.
But yeah, so if you're hacking up along, maybe we'll meet.
Yeah, I deeply apologize for my manly voice and coughs and sniffles.
Deeper than I am this week.
Yesterday and the day before was really bad.
I'm like, babe, how are you? Good. Out of the bedroom.
Good.
Bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we had to miss a few events this week just because of that we were really excited for. Like, our community has First Friday, which is a potluck at the clubhouse of the airfield.
Once a month. Yeah, we skipped that. And I skipped ladies' bunko night on Thursday.
Which is good because both those events is like 10 people or more are in the like 60 plus age category.
Yeah.
It's like you would have
giving
wiped
them
out
COVID.
the whole airport.
Yeah.
And then our Marriage Matters breakout group, which we hadn't seen since basically doing Marriage Matters, which is a topic
was getting together this weekend as well, which we skipped out on because of me.
Yeah.
You did get to go for a flight.
Yeah, so we're going to get into the flying.
I did go for a run yesterday.
Training.
And listen, I don't advise it. I was running on fumes the whole run, even though I performed decently well considering.
And you love the run
and I love to run.
Itself. Yeah.
And I had great company, but I was dead the rest of the day.
Yep.
Completely dead.
Well, you shouldn't have done it. You overdid it.
I want to run again today, but I probably should take another rest day because I'm still on the edge. We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
Yeah, so what else has been going on with us? So last weekend, we had all the kids. We found mice in our hangar.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
and that was...
the family house update.
Wild. Yeah,
so,
we hadn't had a weird story in a while about the house, and this definitely was a good one.
I'll bring up photos in a minute. And actually the video, if you're going to be watching, if you don't want to see true baby mice born within the last 24 hours, they're kind of gross looking, but it is kind of gross looking. But I basically had a bunch of maybe 5 sneakers still in their box, actual sneakers, nice ones. And since we moved in, I haven't looked at them, and the lid was off on this tote. Mm-hmm. So the mice got in there and absolutely shredded the paper that would wrap a shoe or a sneaker.
They were eating the shoelaces.
And built nests.
Inside of the shoe.
Destroyed an Air Force One, 2 Air Force Ones, multiple. And a Christmas Air Jordan. Mm-hmm. So not cheap. And then they moved into I believe this boot was from, because I don't remember ever being in it very long.
When you got hit by a car?
I think it was when I got hit by an F-150 running.
Yeah.
And I broke my leg, but it was like the first day before I had x-rays and everything, or just right after, they put me in a boot. And the mice moved into this and nested in there. And I'll bring up pictures. But Maya grabs this boot. Let's see, here we go. So here's all the shredded paper from in a shoebox.
And there was shredded paper everywhere.
There's Air Force One, which ended up gifting, and the guys never owned a pair of these, but yeah, they ate
that
right
one
through
wasn't
those
too
shoes.
bad. There was another shit that was worse.
Here's the mice, and here's a little video of them. So brand new. I actually saw the mom jump out of this boot when I grabbed it and handed the boot to Maya, who proceeded to start shaking all of the paper. She thought she was shaking the paper out of it. And before you know it, there is these little pinkies flying all over our aircraft hangar and landing on the floor, which then Holly starts hysterically crying, like, Maya, why are you destroying all these babies? And like, obviously not on purpose. And then they're all crying and screaming. All 3 girls are in there. Charlotte wasn't there, fortunately, because she would have lost it, I'm sure.
I don't know. I think she would have
out.
been fine. Yeah. I don't know.
But of course, then the classic, like, Dad, can we keep them? And all this stuff. And it was just a whole thing. They actually lived outside, open, in air.
All right, so
in the
listen.
sun.
We should have put them in a bucket and drowned them and put them out of their misery.
Or just hucked them right away. But I left them outside.
But Cal left them outside. And they died a slow and painful death.
Actually,
sadly.
They didn't really die. Like, some of them just
Some of them did, though.
Well, when I finally did huck them over the fence, I heard these like squeals, and I was like, how are they still alive?
There were a couple.
They're resilient little pests.
Yeah, I mean, just by killing off those 7 mice, that saved us 100 plus
140 reproductions in the next like, 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I did catch one more in a trapdoor bucket.
Yeah.
So still on the battle for mice and roaches here at the house.
Well, the roaches has been a lot better.
Yeah, for sure.
And I did order, I don't know if I told you this, Amazon purchase update.
The Amazon purchase
I did
segment.
Update or buy the, what's it called? The for the
Spray?
house. The bombs.
Oh, your bomb.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a trip coming up. And
so
you're gonna
we're
bomb the
leaving to go out of town on Tuesday, and we'll bomb on Tuesday, right before we leave.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because we haven't done that. We should have done that before we moved in.
I know. So anyway, that's been the house. What else? San Felipe Shootout was also that weekend.
Yeah, we've just been, it feels like back-to-back race directing, but it was really like one weekend in between putting on events. But awesome event. We had actually an ex like collegiate runner that was a collegiate coach and now has gone full-time with his music. And he's kind of like a blues, country, Texas
he's really
musician.
great.
And it was like top quality. I had a video of him playing
Rye
as well.
Wolf.
Yeah, Rye Wolf. I'll put a link in the show notes if you're listening on. Actually, I don't even know if we can hear that. But yeah, no, there we go. It's actually playing. He was just awesome.
Yeah, it sounded really great.
But a really cool little park just west of Houston. That's the thing about like putting on trail racing with Texas events is one of the biggest goals is like to show people like, hey, your backyard is like has these state parks and trails and things that people have no idea. And I was thinking this during my run there the next day when I just did a little cleanup run and went to pay the park for the venue fee. But like most people would commute to Memorial Park in Houston, but this is actually probably closer to a lot of people and it's just as good running, I'd say.
I would say
in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, without traffic on a Sunday morning, it's equidistant or equal time, I would say.
And you can get a 5K loop. It's the exact same distance around if you hit all the trails. It's a little bit of elevation, which Memorial doesn't have. And
I mean,
probably less,
emphasis on a little bit of elevation.
But more than Memorial.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe from a safety, women's factor, like it's not lit, you're in the backwoods, but there's the people that are there. Are just
I don't know. I mean, there's been so many instances of women getting hurt or followed or whatever at Memorial Park that it may also, maybe safer at the state park.
I would definitely say it's safer at the state park by far. I mean, anytime I've been there, I've seen some like potheads going fishing on the Brazos, but like other than that, it's just old people camping out and families and Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and runners, whatever, hikers, bird watchers.
Yeah. It was a great event. It really turned out awesome.
So that was a unique format where it's something actually came up before I even owned Trot and proposed to have. It was kind of like this whole shootout idea was like to pit runners against each other in different events on the same day. So we did a 5K, and then depending how fast you run, you get a break between, and you have to start the 10K when the gun goes off. We do a 10K, same thing, then start a half. And we had a new timing system running, which was like super technical, but worked out pretty well for our first go around. Well, I guess Jackalope was the first one.
We're getting better at it for sure.
Yeah, but now we got like we have a month break before Brazos Bend 50, which is huge.
That's a big one,
but,
yeah, and then we had a neighborhood party that night too.
Oh yeah, we got home to somebody's actual home party, like at a home and hangar. I had a picture of you at the hangar because you're getting spotlighted at work.
Yeah, I actually didn't send them this photo.
Okay.
I ended up sharing a different one, but yeah.
It's cool though. I'm kind of blocking your face, sorry.
That's okay.
There you are.
Yeah.
But that's next to a plane I've been up in. It's called a super decathlon, and it's a aerobatics plane. And
yeah, so I am getting spotlighted at work because, out of everyone normal at work, I have among the most interesting home life.
Well, it's kind of like the whole premise of this podcast. It's like
a
mix
exactly.
of everything.
Yeah. So, what else flying?
But that party was really cool. Like, I felt like that was such a time warp back into like what seriously could have been like 19th century, or like an old, like very classical party. Like someone randomly out of the neighborhood could play piano. Like no sheet
and we're
music.
talking like incredible classical piano.
Yeah, but he also played like hit like kind of 80s, 90s songs. Like I think there was some like Elton John and some things in there, just like off by heart, but fully
amazing.
Yeah, and like just ended up being so good that it was just like in the background.
Yeah, Cal was. I thought they hired a pianist at first.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, Cal was like, "Oh, you should go play, but not after that." Like I can play, but not like that.
Yeah.
I'm rusty.
So that was pretty incredible. But there's just like all the little groups, and then like giving a little talk after. I mean, we don't go to a lot of little home parties and things, but that just felt like it totally was like such a throwback time. Space.
It was really nice. Yeah. So what else?
At least we got to go to that party.
Yeah, the following weekend. There's been a lot of social events. Oh, and then this weekend there was the pilot meeting with the neighborhood. Yeah,
that was really interesting. We technically weren't like on the pilot list of this, but like as was brought up in the meeting, they're like, "Oh, Cal's not a pilot." I'm like, and then someone's like, "No, he has more hours than you this year, and he flies aircraft you don't even know how to fly." To like a very experienced pilot that flew airlines forever. Like I think he has like 2,000 hours just in like one specific, Southwest, 737 or something, 777, and like can talk so specifically to each aircraft. And so the whole front end of the meeting was actually, because we don't really have many accidents here, but it was like an industry incident safety meeting.
How to be more safe.
Yeah, and like the whole thing was like, get your eyes out of the cockpit and look around. And there was like, as soon as somebody brought one topic up, it was like every pilot in the room had something from the last month at a pretty major like regional airports where like air traffic control would be like, "All right, you're cleared to take off, like go ahead." And they were the ones to be like, look out the window and see an approaching aircraft on final and be like, how about we let this guy go first? And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, cancel that, like hold short," or whatever, So the whole like fact that there's all these incidents happening, it's like there's a lot of trust in instrumentation, a lot of trust in other people, and people make mistakes. And there was every incident was kind of brought up. I was like a couple minutes late, so I think I missed the DC incident kind of review, which has been pretty popularized and covered by now. But like the Canadian one that slammed in and flipped over, like they brought up that a little bit and how just like easy it would be to kind of misjudge the glide slope and pound it in, and then those wings are really low and it would have caused them to flip really easily. But it's just interesting to listen to all that stuff and then talk about maintenance, like repairing our very wet and rutted out runway here at the airport.
Yeah.
Awesome. Boring.
Boring.
Yeah.
You did go for a flight this weekend?
Yeah, and then I saw Jeff come by in the Stearman, which is a biplane, and ran out with my thumb out. He's like, anytime I'm coming by, just run out with your thumb out. And this was the first time ever they actually had to like somebody else going up on the other side of the field. So he was like, sorry, man, I can't take you. But then the next day, yesterday, he texted me. He was like, hey, I'm taking the Cub, which is awesome. Basically, you're like no windows, no doors, fully out. I can put that video up. But this time I actually took advantage more of like asking, because at one point he was just like, he's like, all right, you want the stick? And I was like, yeah, okay, my control. And this is us taking off here. And so I'm flying, and then I'd like look back, and he's just kind of like looking on his phone, or like, because there was people coming to look at other homes, and he has the keys and things. So, but I finally was like, hey, can you just talk me through slips and slides? And he's like, well, slips are good. You definitely don't want to the other way around. So like I really learned like rudder control, yaw control, and like what's happening if you just use this stick to roll, and there's like a lot of drag that's induced on one side, and it'll actually turn the nose the opposite way. So your rudder is there to correct for that and really like carve out a turn. And I kind of knew that from theory and other flying with my dad in sailplanes, but it was just kind of fun to be in a powered aircraft and have someone else in a Cub show me what that actually looks like practically.
Yeah.
And then like he lined me up on a little farm road in the middle of nowhere, and was like, okay, we're gonna slip this one in. And it was like, we cranked the plane, like yawed it way right, and then we're like nose down and coming in sideways, and it's a really good way to lose a lot of height if you're coming in high.
Yeah.
So, and then we flew the Brazos and checked out a bald eagle nest. So
nice.
Yeah, like that plane's just incredibly fun to fly. And then coming in right over Walmart to our airfield. It's funny, you're like feet over people driving on that road before you come in. So yeah, a lot of fun, obviously.
Yeah,
but
awesome.
Learning lots unofficially. It's unfortunate, like I don't get credit for those hours, but like credit towards like officially capacity. But it's like huge credit in the terms of like learning how to really fly. And at that party, they were talking about so much about like, you're gonna fly this way to get your license, and then you're gonna come with us and learn how to really fly.
Yeah, two very different things, right?
Yeah, how to pass your tests and how to be like more dynamic and safer ultimately.
Yeah. While you were doing that, I signed up for ground school.
And didn't tell me.
And didn't tell you. Yeah. I needed my own thing to like,
Did you start?
No, I didn't start.
Okay.
But I downloaded all the resources, and I'm ready to start.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's going to be our first step, rather than like buy this plane and just dive in like that way and try to find CFIs, the certified flight instructors on the airfield, to like grab their time and energy. Yeah. But it sounds like we're going to have a few like access to some planes and instructors as we get going.
Yep.
And the ground school is a good place to start, and just go take that written exam, get that out of the way.
Yeah.
And then apply it to practical.
It'll be good.
Yeah, I kind of actually started the ground school already, because I'm doing my drone course for search and rescue mainly. Yeah. So I can fly technically like commercially with the Part 103 is what it's called.
Nice.
But a lot of like aircraft theory stuff as well.
Yeah.
So that's our aviation update.
Yeah, aviation and home.
I applied to be in that flying race.
Wait,
in
what?
September. No, wait, what? I talked to you about this.
You were like, it'd be nice to do it. You didn't tell me you were going to apply.
I don't want to miss out. So it's a hike and fly race, paragliding gear in a pack, hike to a mountain launch, fly as far as possible, hike as far as possible to hit goal points. So we'll see. If I can get enough, I have to get enough flying this spring and summer to feel comfortable enough going to actually compete.
I'm never going to see my husband, y'all.
Oh, you'll see me as your like ground support driving to pick me up on retrieve.
Okay.
You can talk to me on the radio.
Great. Processing. Anyway.
Live, real processing.
Yeah, literally.
Well, let's get into relationship then, because I know that was going to be a big topic.
Oh, yeah. So we had said, a couple times we want to do Marriage Matters, so we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our relationship. And then we're kind of doing it backwards today, where we'll finish up with some of our interesting, newsworthy items.
Yeah, like running news and all
Yeah.
that
So
stuff.
stay
But-
tuned. You have to listen to our relationship first.
But we had better, I guess, has it been 2 weeks now? Or
It's been 2 weeks. Last time we had mentioned we had a really rough week.
Yeah. Which resonated with a lot of people that
Yeah.
have like gotten back to us. Like,
Yeah, I've had a lot of people reach out to me too
to
and say,
like very common
like, we were also having a
arguments.
bad week, or we
Yeah.
were arguing about the same thing, you know,
Yeah.
those types of things.
And I think that's what was initially really good about Marriage Matters, which was a course offered by our church, Grace, that we go
Yeah.
to. And it kind of just normalized it. Just like I was talking about in Steve Magnus's book, like, hey, all of our lives are like messy. And we all have like these things going on.
Yeah, there were a few things that were said that I still to this day think of, like just quick one-liners and from Marriage Matters. And one of them is, they're not relationship problems, they're people problems. Because when you have two people from two walks of life coming together,
Yeah.
you know, you do have differences, and these are just misunderstandings between differences of two people, you know.
Yeah.
And I think we're both stubborn, and we're both, you know, have our own opinions, and we both have our own needs, and that heightens things.
Love language.
And own love languages. And I would say that most of our fights, you know, regardless of how it starts out, it ultimately boils down to
Oh, it boils all right.
love and respect, right?
Yeah.
And that's what this first topic is love and
Yeah.
respect, and essentially getting into what is called the crazy cycle.
Oh, getting out of the crazy.
And getting it, well,
Yeah.
love and respect, we spiral in the crazy cycle.
Yeah.
How do we get out of that?
Yeah, well, I remember walking through, that first session, week 1 of 10, and the they would have basically an open session talk with a guest speaker, and then you go to these breakout rooms. But in that initial talk, it was like, most of your fights are not about the actual topic, like whatever the issue is, it's like you're fighting about fighting at some point. Like it just turns into that, and that's so true for us. Like
Truly, we fight about fighting.
yeah, like we fight more often about like how I respond to the issue more than the
Yeah.
issue that's at hand.
Yeah.
Or how you respond to the issue, mainly how I respond.
Well,
And-
yeah.
And it kicks off what they called the crazy cycle, which was like a perfect kind of
I think
like description of like what actually happens, where you just get into this spiral that gets out of control.
yes. So I'm bothered by your,
See?
yeah.
What are you bothered by?
I don't think it's always how you will react, though. I mean,
See, I still haven't figured it out. And that's the thing. By no means throughout this entire discussion is
anyway,
like we're experts
not trying
on
to
this.
like, yeah. We've had a really great couple weeks, though, between the two of us. I just want to
No,
say
but
that
it's-
before we get in that topic.
Okay,
But yeah,
say more about what you mean. Learn me.
I think it's not always about your reactions. For me, it's about how sometimes it's like your lack of reactions or your
No,
lack
that's what I'm
of,
saying.
yeah.
I know, I completely agree. I was going to say that, like, it's the non-response or what
Yeah.
you're needing in return in the moment.
Yeah.
And it's the classic, like, women, like, just to break it down in, like, those very, like, typical things. Like, women just want to be listened to and heard and not get a response of, like, how to fix it right away. And
So
that's typically, like,
I
what...
just want to say trigger warning, right? Because when I first heard this, I was like, what the heck? Where it's women need love and men need respect. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I need to be respected. What do you mean?
Right.
But when you boil down to it, like, have I ever thought, man, I wish he respected me more? No, it's always, I wish he loved me more.
Yeah, and contrary to that, I'm like, do I ever question that you love me? Or
Yeah.
do I want more love from you? But
No.
weekly, is there a time where I'm like, you completely disrespected what I'd done for you and the family?
And what
because
he
you've
means by
asked?
that is
Yeah.
like, so and this drives me crazy. All right, so
Here we go.
let's talk about this. I am somebody that I say what I want
Yes,
and
you
I
do.
say what I need, for better or for worse. and
It can be very helpful because it's like
it could be helpful.
most
and I'm just
women are just like, it's a mystery of like,
right.
what's going on in your
With
your
me,
head.
you always know where you
sure.
stand. And I know that with that, I could tone it down a little.
Yeah, because sometimes it's like I feel disrespected because I don't even have the chance to love you
Right.
in the way that you want, and you're like, just give me this.
Yeah.
And it's like, exactly. And
Tell me I'm pretty, or
but I'm
just
like, well, now it's like, okay.
well, you'd be like, well, now it's forced and I don't
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah.
And then it'll take you like twice as long to tell me something nice,
It just delays it.
which is not fair either. But
Okay, go on.
I don't even know where I was going with this now. I don't know.
Sorry, I sidetracked you, but the crazy cycle, I mean, it's good to recognize we're going into it, but now it's like, even we'll fight about the crazy cycle because I'll be like, here we go, crazy cycle started.
I remember
and then
what I
like,
was gonna say. So going back onto the respect, it's not that I'm like disrespecting you
right.
directly.
Right, yeah.
My example to that is, let's say I'm like, man, I could really use your help unloading the dishwasher. You haven't unloaded the dishwasher in a long time.
Right.
Or can I just have 5 minutes of your dedicated time to like focus on me, like
Yeah.
let's put down phone. And you're good with that to an extent, but how you see it in your head or how you take that is, oh, she hasn't seen all these 10 other things that I've actually been doing. Therefore, I'm disrespecting the other things that you've done to love me.
Yeah, like I'm tired from working all day,
Right.
and working is a contribution to the family, or like
Yeah.
I did the trash and cleaned out the garage and the hangar, and I don't know, did all this other things, and it's like that stuff just gets like shit on, basically.
But I'm not shitting
Right,
on it.
I know, but
I've never shit on that.
But I think that's how I think a lot of men feel
Yeah.
in general. Is just like, I've done all of this and given all this time, and now I'm exhausted, and I just want this little bit of time to do nothing or this or that.
And it's like, well, because it doesn't fit in my little bubble of what I needed to feel loved, then you feel disrespected because I'm not accepting that, but I'm not feeling loved because I didn't get love poured into that little bubble of need that I have too.
Yeah.
So it's like this lack of love and respect, and they kind of fuel off each other. And so then we start fighting about, well, you didn't see all these things that I did for you. Well, and then I'll be like, well, you're not loving me or giving me, what I need in my love language.
And then things just get summarized like, you don't love me.
I never say that, but yeah.
No, it just kind of just comes down to like,
Yeah.
the extremes of things, and it's like the
Well,
crazy
I
stuff.
think you're very guilty of that, where you
The everything always,
take a summary of something
yeah.
and just take it to the extreme.
I always say like the everything always or the never. Like, you never do this or you always do that, and that's like,
Yeah.
doesn't help. It fuels the crazy cycle.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so how the heck do we get out of it?
So
that was like the huge question of,
how do you get out of it?
Yeah.
And I hated the response to this. And it's like the mature one has to step back and say, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. Do you forgive me? Blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
And then Cal's
take some
first
ownership.
reaction was, oh, well, now we're going to fight about who's more mature. But yeah,
It's so hard though, like, I always, to get to that point even, because like I want more space and time and you want immediacy.
Well, I think that's something that's very unique to us, though, is we have very different ways of working through conflict, right?
Yeah.
You're an avoidant.
Yeah.
You need your time, you need your space, you want to step away. I'm a pursuer. I want to resolve this right now and move on. And when you have an avoidant and a pursuer together in a relationship, it makes the crazy cycle 10 times worse.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But we're doing all right.
No, I think we're doing great. I think, yeah. And another thing, like the issue, like you said earlier, is no longer the issue after a while. And then you're just fighting to be heard and understood. And I know I'm very guilty of that.
Yeah. Well, and then the note on like being an avoidant, it's like, it's okay because that's just who I am or my personality, conflict resolution style. Mm-hmm. But like they brought it up even, it's like, if you are that person, you don't just get to disappear go hang gliding, go for a run, and then come back and have dinner, like everything's fine. You do actually have to rebroach that topic and resolve it, which I mean, most avoidance would never get to that point.
I initiate the resolution 99% of the time.
Yeah, because it's on your time. But the thing is like with the bad part about, needing the space and time is like, that's where resentment's built. And that's where it's really hard to get over, like things that just continue to build up. I think.
Like when we had said we had a bad week, the last episode, we didn't talk for like a day and a half.
Yeah. And that was like the longest stretch ever.
I mean, that's ever. And I was so defeated that I'm like, you need your space. I'm done. Like, I'm not done with us. That's not what I mean. But I'm just, you come to me.
Yeah.
And you still, you did a few things to try to come to me, but you never brought it up directly, I would say.
There's a few times like, where I'd pull you aside and like try to make amends and move on with it.
And let's talk about that. So.
Or not.
When apologizing.
Oh, geez. I think that was the only question I asked during Marriage Matters, the entire 10-week period.
Yeah. He's very guilty of apologizing when we're still in the heat of fighting, but then we keep fighting. But it's not an apology, right? Like you're not coming out and trying to de-escalate. It's like an apology reaction, right? It's like a reaction, but you're saying you're sorry rather than actually meaning it, is how it comes off.
Is how it comes off.
Yeah. And also sometimes apologies are, I'm sorry that you felt that way, but I did blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm sorry, buts are not apologies either. It just kind of negates the whole ownership thing. And so I am very particular about apologies where they need to truly just be, you're taking your ownership. It doesn't matter, and you're a classic I'm sorry, but, or I'm sorry reactor. Yeah. And so it is true. That question you asked in the middle of Marriage Matters was, how do I apologize where she'll actually hear it?
Yeah. How does it get accepted?
Yeah. And you gave examples and they shit on the way you apologize. Yeah.
But all the men definitely, it resonated with them.
Yeah.
Because it's very common.
Yeah. So I think another benefit and as we go through these topics, I think one thing that we got out of this, especially you, is, it's not just Rachel. This is women need this. It's not just, me being annoying.
And it is interesting. I mean, we keep saying that, but it's it is so classically very, and you can have that role swapped in a few different relationships, but it's pretty clear and defined, the differences between men and women and how common that is. And and
how we're wired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wired. like a nest, rat's nest of wires in there.
So, truly, yeah. Chewed up shoelaces sometimes, yeah.
I love that. It's old, and I think everybody's seen it. But the box, the empty box. If you haven't watched The Empty Box, it is freaking hilarious. It's like this comedian psychologist. I don't even know if he's a psychologist, but he has it all figured out. Mm-hmm. It's the men's brain's all these boxes, and we access one at a time, and we even have the empty box, and then it's we step on over to the women's brain, and it's just this ball of wires, and the dishwasher wire is connected to the mother-in-law wire that's connected to your activities, that's connected to all these things that are for men not interconnected at all. They're separated into neat little boxes.
I mean, I will think about something and I will go through 18 topics in about half a second to get to a final thought. And you're just very monotone in there. So anyway, how do you get out of the crazy cycle? Listen.
Yeah.
Be mature.
Realize what the topic is at hand.
I think that's hard, but yeah. I mean, when you feel unloved or disrespected, the topic is just not going to be the topic anymore. It's going to be about love and respect. Even if you don't realize you're fighting about love and respect.
Right, because I think in those moments is where like the true damage is done of just like, yeah, and then where you have like the low ball hits, like of just, bringing up, like some of the things that we're like, do not do is like bring up past.
Yeah, don't bring up past hurts. Yeah.
Name calling.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Don't talk over each other.
Talking over, yeah.
Yeah, I think you really need to try to understand the person's perspective and acknowledge the person. I think a lot of times we listen and then we respond, but we don't actually acknowledge the other person.
Everybody just has their thing that they're holding on to that they want to be heard. And it's when you're like trying to get that across, you're not listening at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's important. We're allies, right? We're in this together, and I'm not trying to bring you down or work against you.
Yeah, and then the other thing with the timing is like, you're always like, we are not going to bed until this is resolved. I want resolution immediately.
So I've given up on that, actually.
And I'm like, need to sleep it off, or like, it's like, sometimes it happens like in bed, right? Like a topic's brought up or whatever it is. And it's like, I'm not going to stay up all night resolving this. Yeah, I agree. I think, the classic don't go to bed angry. Yeah. I don't believe in that anymore per se. I mean, that 2 weeks ago, we didn't even speak to each other going to bed. Yeah, we wouldn't have slept if that were the case.
Yeah.
Which is then not good because you're just like...
But I think part of that goes back to kind of the stubbornness that we each had or have.
Right.
Where honestly, I think if we both took time to understand the other person's perspective and acknowledge that, held each other's hand and, really understood the other person.
Later in Marriage Matters, it was like getting into some like little drills, and it was more in our breakout room than anything, that they were giving us little challenges, which we can get to that week 1 challenge in a minute. But like definitely like the challenge we had one week was like holding hands and staring at each other in the eye just for 30 seconds.
So I was going to recommend doing that one this week, just because we won't be around the house to do the other challenge we originally wanted to do.
I did it. Did you do it? I did at least one.
But we weren't in the challenge.
Okay, so the challenge one, I know, we restarted some of the things.
Yeah, we were going to do the sticky note challenge, but we will be out of town, so I don't think we should do that one this week. I think we should do the hold hands and look in each other's eyes for 1 minute a day.
And then the bonus was just to hold each other in a hug. And then
hold each other in a hug for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like
the first day, we did it last time, felt like forever, and we were kind of laughing.
Yeah.
But then by the end, it was really nice.
Yeah. And it's hard to like be mad at each other, hold things against each other, or like keep things going, like when you have that touch or just like the eye contact. Yeah. And like other than like this podcast, we don't have as long like this. I love this, like our little date night of podcasting too, because like, we're like staring at you.
There's no distractions. Everything's on do not disturb.
Now I've like not heard you a few times, like when I'm over here trying to bring up a picture. I repeated verbatim what you said about the GPS thing.
Yeah, I was talking about the GPS, and then you talked about it again.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay.
I never heard
And then he went back and listened to it, and he's like, oh, I didn't hear you say any of that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
But that's our daily life, y'all. Like, he doesn't hear me at all. He'll be like, you told me that?
On the sticky note challenge, it's simple of just like leaving some sticky notes around for each other with little notes.
Yeah.
And that was really difficult for me because it's totally a words of affirmation kind of thing, which is like my library of those is like 0. And of course you're like, I needed words of like you tell me directly, I need words of affirmation, which I think is
I've started doing like, what do you love about me today? And you're like,
Yeah, it makes me go blank. Like it literally makes my brain turn off.
Yeah.
And I have nothing. But if I have some time with a note, like I might be able to like squeak something out.
I'm like, is it so hard to come up with one reason that you love me a day?
It really is.
Like, do you love me at all? Yeah,
exactly.
That's what I ask. Yeah.
But the kids caught onto it and left a lot of notes for you.
Yeah.
It's like skibbity toilet or something.
She left what did they leave? They tried to quote me. It wasn't a quote, so let me just say that. They tried to pretend
It was all bathroom humor stuff.
that I wrote a sticky note myself.
And left it for me on the toilet.
And left it for him on the toilet, except they spelled my name wrong. And it was like, I farted and it tickled, so I did it again.
Just classic, like,
yeah, just
elementary
kid.
potty.
So yeah, we found a bunch of those all around the house from
Good
the
for
kids.
them.
Yeah. Anyway, I think, yeah, the don't go to bed angry thing. I just think that one thing we should
it's not an always rule.
No, it's not. But I think
applicable.
For us though, I think it's attainable for us because it's really just about us acknowledging the other person and understanding how to go forward.
Yeah.
But that just comes back to we need to put our stubbornness aside.
Yeah. So that's week 1 of our 10-week Marriage Matters course that we did last fall.
Yeah.
And
we still struggle with it.
Though that night we would get home, or even the drive home, were our worst fights.
The first 3-4 weeks we did it. It got better.
Weekly.
Because they would bring up.
Yeah, it's tough to like surface raw emotion stuff or like.
I think like this whole thing was the first time that it had put a name or kind of shined a light on what was actually
you're doing
happening.
Like family of origin stuff. You're doing like, and our breakout room, I thought, whoa, this is a miracle. Like we got paired with 5 other couples.
All blended families.
Blended families, second marriages. And it was like, how did this happen? Like divine intervention. And it was like, oh, you filled in a survey that said this is what.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're bringing up like all these like common topics and things that, resonate with us. And then you're almost like loading up chambers. And then you get in the car and it's like, we need to talk about this, this, and this, and that. Or this is like, and then like.
I think, what was happening is that I would hear things that I'm like, oh, you do this. And you would hear things like, oh, this is your fault in the crazy cycle, or my fault in the crazy cycle. And that just led to a bunch of ammunition of shining lights on things.
Yeah, it was tough for sure. It's like hard to go through that stuff. But this was supposed to be our premarital counseling, like kind of session, not counseling, but like a premarital session. Because there was lots of like,
there were premarital people in
which
there.
would have been crazy if they were in our breakout room. Imagine it was randomized.
Right, because our breakout room, and we're not going to breach confidentiality or anything, but our breakout room was blended families, second marriages, people that are already married, people that have been through things. Blending families is hard. Exes are hard. Other people's kids are hard. Trying to find your place is hard. And, we went into it really disconnected actually, because that was right during the time of our septic. And when we were the whole house moving. So we were already kind of having a difficult time. And we go in there and hear everyone else's stories and we're like, oh, okay, we're fine.
That's true.
We're fine.
We did come out of those things feeling like in a much better place because we were still very fresh.
Yeah. And we weren't alone in struggling.
Right.
But if we had, if those people in the premarital were listening to our seasoned stories.
Second time around,
blended family.
4, 5, 6
exes, kids, whatever stories. Yeah, they would be like, marriage is not for me.
Yeah.
But it is. It's really amazing.
It's great. Yeah, we were supposed to see that whole group last Saturday, but you got COVID. So
Yesterday, yeah.
Anyways, so that's our relationship. And so, I was going to say, like, I feel like, I'm like, okay, let's move on because I'm exhausted of talking about relationships. We'd get out of those sessions and I would be depleted of energy, like of love energy,
I'd be
relationship
like, let's talk.
thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, now we need some quality time together. And I'm like,
well, okay,
so was the past 2 hours?
That was but we didn't talk.
I know,
in
but
those
to
things.
me, I'm like, that was everything I had for my quality relationship check-in time for 2 hours.
But y'all, this is the difference between us. Our definition of quality time is different.
Oh yeah, like we spent that one whole weekend together.
A day. We've spent a whole day together talking about nothing.
And then the next day,
going to the grocery store, doing this, went to Lowe's, talked about
life.
Wood, doing all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, now let's have quality time and actually, have meaningful conversation. And you're like,
I'm like, I want to go flying.
You're like leave me alone. I'm like, but we haven't connected, Yeah. So.
Oh boy.
Anyway.
All right.
We are just two different people, and we misunderstand each other sometimes, and that's okay.
That's right.
But I think we've gotten a lot better, and we can place things now. I think we can stop things sooner than we did previously too, from spiraling.
Right. They don't go as deeper, cut as deeper, and they don't build the resentment that would ultimately, like really tear it down.
Yeah.
That would be like unrecoverable.
Yeah.
All right. Love you.
Love you.
All right.
All right.
Something fun. Hit me.
Yeah. So.
How about like something that grinds my gears?
New York City Marathon drew their applicants this week.
Was it over 200,000?
Over 200,000 applicants, and only 2 to 3% were accepted.
You're the math guru. I mean, don't they let in 65,000 people? That doesn't seem like the right percentage amount to me.
Yeah, but they have people that qualify.
That's a thing. And then
they
charity.
have tons of charity event. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is crazy. And I had said earlier, like, not quite, but getting close to Western States challenge getting into New York City Marathon.
Yeah, you're legitimately like before it's like, yeah, at some point you're going to get to do New York City Marathon. If you're a marathoner, you'll probably get to go. But like Western States is at a point where in your lifetime, you might not really get to go. You might not get that opportunity.
Well, with one ticket, it's about 0.5%.
Right.
And then it starts adding on to each other.
Yeah, as the years accumulate, and as long as you keep getting qualifiers, you can keep putting your name back in that hat.
And your percentage,
and build it up.
your odds go up. Yeah.
So some people are getting called, but it's like almost after their career is over.
Yeah.
For their ability to run.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Yeah, Western States only has, I want to say 260 something spots per year.
Right.
So yeah, it's getting crazy.
It's wild.
But I was just on a podcast that launched last week. It was like 2 months ago, I think, that I even recorded it, or a month ago. But one of the segments they cut and shared as a short was me talking about like a lot of my athletes that are going to all these world majors, like Tokyo, London, New York, I think were the top 3 of just like having bad experiences. It kind of like, the cut made it seem a little out of texture, but like, yeah, it's like, that's the truth. Like it's so busy now. And I was kind of promoting like, hey, this is why like some of these trail races are so awesome to do, because you really do get a better experience overall.
Yeah.
Like New York's so expensive. All of these are so expensive to go to now. And you end up getting crammed in a crowd, and you actually can't run properly for the first few miles. Most of the people
or you're weaving and
the porta potty lines and the just the aid you get, the attention, like all of this stuff. It's like getting diminished because of it, and it's really unfortunate.
So I met one of my friends for coffee this week, and she did Woodlands and the half, and she was like, it sucked. There was no food at the aid stations. She's like, I hate road races. There's no food.
Yeah, and road runners that come to our races are like overwhelmed because it's like a buffet.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I thought that was funny. I was
Texas
cracking up.
waffle maker going, grilled cheeses.
Full-on sandwiches and quesadillas and candy. Yeah. And she was like, I was looking and there was just water. Where's the candy at?
Just a different world.
Yeah. So anyway, speaking of, recently there was a trail race that was put on.
This is wild.
It was, well, first of all, before it was eventually canceled, but before it was even canceled, the race director made it very clear that between the hours of what?
Oh yeah, like midnight and 6 a.m.
Midnight and
like
6
that.
a.m. were sleeping hours for them, so they could, re-up their energy.
Yeah.
And that the racers would be unsupported during those 6 hours.
Yeah.
Which, let's just talk about that before we get into the rest of it.
Well, it was very similar to Jackalope Jam. It was a timed loop event. Now, much longer loops. It was like a 7-mile loop. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I know how it goes. It's hard to get people. There was a few nights during Jackalope Jam where it was just Jay and I,
Yeah.
who worked for the company. We had no volunteers, and it was up to us to run the aid station and the timing. And if anything happened, you know, we'd wake each other up and like rally some troops. But like, I know how it goes, and it sucks, but you've taken people's money to put on an event safely and professionally. And this person was basically just like, oh, sorry, couldn't get any volunteers and I want to go to sleep. So like as a race director, sorry, you're not going to get a lot of sleep during the race week. Never mind. Like,
and that one was
the
only 30 hours too.
Only, yeah.
Like
no,
a feasible
100
amount of time. Yeah.
That 100 hours, not including the setup and tear down either side of like that kind of stress.
Yeah. I mean, you came home and you were a zombie.
Yeah, but that's just what you expect.
Yeah.
Don't do it otherwise. But this person, and then they got wind of like a really bad gust front storm that was ripping through, and actually, I don't even know actually if they had that on their radar. They basically woke up to their tent blowing across the event place and were like, well, that's it. We're packing up. The race is canceled. And they sent an email.
Because the race director woke up to bad weather.
Right. The race director woke up. Their tent was across the parking lot, whatever. Packed it up into the van.
Sent an email to the runners notifying them.
While they're on the course.
And so let's talk about that. How many people are checking their email on a run?
Like none.
Right.
Basically.
Exactly.
So there's literally runners coming up that were like seeing this guy drive away or pack up and like asking him questions. And he's like, well, you know, leave your timer, leave your ankle thing on the table and like grab your medal or submit your time or what you end up running for your distance and I'll send you your medal.
Yeah.
Like became basically fully self-supported. But I think from like
during a storm,
if something had have legitimately happened to somebody, which trees were coming down on the trail, flooding was happening, like swift water. If something medically had happened, like that's totally liable. Like you would be.
You shouldn't leave
so much
runners
trouble.
out on the trail.
There's no way
No.
Like that's something that keeps me up as a race director is like, have I absolutely for sure checked everybody out of here? You know,
well,
like when you have those times that just they didn't finish, but you're fairly certain they've gone home and just didn't tell you they've DNF'd.
I mean, Habanero this past year, you and I were both tag teaming, sending texts and calling people that haven't lapped or looped or checked in a while.
Yeah,
and we just
until we get back from every single one of them, you don't sleep.
Exactly.
And
we don't even leave really until that happens.
No, and fortunately, like our system now has text ability, like for just emergency purposes, not marketing or anything. And so, like, there's so many communication methods and things you need to do to like check those boxes. Because I was asked to be a key witness expert, like an industry expert in a case where a guy was left, and he ended up dying of pre-existing cardiac conditions, which was part of the reason I declined of being part of it. But like, I mean, there's races happening out there that are running too thin on safety. They don't have controls, and they just seem like they don't care. You know, which is scary. And something has happened, and it's going to continue to happen. In China, remember they sent people off into a storm, and those people wound up in jail because it's China. There's like 7 race directors in prison right now. Yeah. For killing.
For basically doing what this race director did.
Yeah, exactly.
Except people died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. That was insane news. Yeah. And we heard from numerous sources about that.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
So this one's more about a pet peeve of yours. I ran a 7:30 marathon, but 7:30 pace, not.
Yeah, it's so weird. I've just been hearing this come up more and more, and it seems to be more for like newer runners or like less experienced, I'd say. But they describe their run, like you just said, as a pace. Like, oh, what do you want to run for your marathon? I want to run 7. I'm like, I don't even know as a very experienced runner and coach, like what that means. Like,
don't want to run 7 hours?
Yeah.
Most, they don't even last that long.
It's a very, very bizarre thing that's like been forming. I feel like it's growing. It's like, just say your time. Like, just say the duration of your,
I don't know.
All right,
so, but your question that you just asked, like, what do you want to run for your marathon? That's
3.5 hours.
A vague question.
No, but like people were like reporting their results to me, and I'm like, oh, how did it go? Like, oh, I ran 7:30.
That's
like,
different. I
like,
feel
no,
like
what was the result?
reporting that way is
17.
different. What do you want to run for your marathon? I think saying, yeah, I get it.
It's just weird. It really doesn't grind my gears that bad. But okay, talking of trail and stuff like that. This is like, you heard it here first. I think, I'll word it two different ways. The cool way, I get to race Kilian. And you're like, who? Kilian Jornet, like the GOAT of
Kilian.
trail running. And I'll put it another way. I think I'm going to get to be on the same starting line and hopefully finish within a reasonable amount of hours.
So,
Kilian.
So let's go to training week. You're training for Canyons.
Yeah,
next
so Canyons,
month.
the Canyons 100K hosted by UTMB has a 100 mile, has a 100K, has a 50K.
Yeah. And the 100K
is a golden
ticket race.
Just like the Black Canyon.
Right.
Not plural. I'm finally getting it right. Black Canyon and the Canyons. Yeah.
Canyons.
And so it's been no secret that Kilian, who's like just, the GOAT, has wanted to go back to Western States, but he doesn't have an entrance right now because he didn't do it last year and hasn't done any golden tickets, but he was supposed to do one, I believe, in Europe. I didn't recognize it because it's new to the golden ticket series, but he basically said because I think his second kid is due.
He didn't do it.
He's really fit this weekend and he's not going. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like
he might come to Canyon.
For sure that guy has enough like UTMB index points and sway to get into the Canyons and just come rip 100K, no problem.
We'll see.
So you heard it here first. I'm guessing that we see Kilian sign up for the Canyons.
How's your training going?
I've had a great week. 5 days. I've had a great last 6 days.
Last week, he was like, oh, I need to train. Oh, I need to train.
I mean, with the races, like I count it as like time on feet. And actually, I was thinking about this. I feel like my superpower, because you say I'm the what do you say, the master of no training?
Yeah.
My like superpower in training is like I truly believe that like everything I do is somehow contributing to training, even if it's not running. And so like
eating Oreos is contributing.
Yes, because I love Oreos when I'm in the back half of a 100K. And that's important. No, but like race week, I'm just on my feet lifting totes and measuring the trail and working and doing sleep deprivation.
I mean, that's endurance, right?
Like, yeah, and it's long, hot days usually. Yeah. I believe it always. And then if I'm not training, I'm sleeping, which I think is like the most important part. I don't know, just in some ways, like I just like believe in what I'm doing. And I think I see that even in athletes that do the wrong thing, but they believe in it. And it's what works. So like some of the buy-in on whatever training you're doing is like the key factor for if it works or not. It really is. Like it doesn't matter what program you're on, what coach you have, And most of the time, like if you do pay for coaching services, like a lot of athletes that I have do, you're going to believe in it.
Well, you see that where you have had athletes that typically leave or you drop them at this point that don't believe in your training and then they don't do well. But then they go off
replicate it
and do something else that they believe in and have more success.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I think, it's been like documented in places, I'm sure, the buy-in is like the most key and important part.
Yeah.
Anyways, where was I going with that?
Canyons, running.
Oh yeah, my training. Right now, we still have time left today, so to put a little bow on the week, I think I'll hit a 60-mile week this week.
Ooh,
big time. 100K. I might actually run 100K for my 100K training within the week. Got some good elevation yesterday, did crazzy loops, got in the crazy cycle out on the hill
crazy
loop.
Cycle.
And got like almost 1,000 feet. I did a 3x7 minute tempo workout, which went really well. That was my first workout back. Remember the day one on Tuesday, I was like on the hill loop, I was like,
I felt
terrible.
Yeah.
But the next day or day after I did a workout. So it comes back quick and I'm fit. It's just I got to put together the volume now and feeling like I'm on my way.
Yeah.
What are we at? We're at over 6 weeks, I think, still to go.
Yeah.
But we're heading into
we're going
two of the best weeks of training, I think, that are
West Texas, and we're going to do a few days in Marfa and a few days camping.
Yeah, so we're going to altitude. We'll be at a minimum
altitude
of 6,000 feet and even at 8,000 for some of it.
in the mountains. And then I'm going to fly back to go to work, and you're going to stay to do search and rescue in the Guadalupes?
Yeah, Guadalupe National Park has asked my Texar unit to give up like 4 people per week for spring break to have some extra hands on deck to do preventative search and rescue. So basically like trailhead check, you know, hey, your Crocs aren't tied, probably not a good idea. It's not in sport mode. Probably, you know, put some hikers on. You don't have any water. You're going up to like 8,200 feet and it's March. Like, you know, all these things just to prevent. Basically, like search and rescue is all about interfering with Darwinism.
Well, these 2 weeks are also big spring break weeks for the week of for the state of Texas, so that's also why.
Well, and then we've seen the posts on like national parks with the crazy firing, like reduction of layoffs, reduction of employees, and they just can't.
Oh, I sent you that Brazos Bend one, not Brazos Bend, sorry, Big Bend.
Big Bend,
and
the lineups.
The lines are crazy.
Yeah. It's a popular time to be at these national parks that now have less people.
Or short-staffed,
short-staffed. So, anyways, volunteer group asked to go out there, but yeah, highest peak in Texas is in the Guadalupes. It's at over, I think it's 8,200 something feet. So we'll definitely be getting some good time on feet and trail running, and with us going to the Davis Mountains Nature Preserve, which is only open 4 weekends per year. So really unique opportunity to see that. Yep. And
it'll be great.
Yeah.
And then
we'll
feeling head
better.
Finally,
so we can share a tent together.
I mean, we've been sharing germs, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think one more day and I'll be, but maybe 2 better.
Yeah.
I'm fading a bit now.
I can hold.
And you hold on, and we're good. And then after that, we just have canyons. We don't have any trips.
Putting on a race and
getting into
summer.
Canyons, and then in May I'm going to Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without me.
Well, I might stay an extra week with or without you.
With or without you.
Yeah.
So. On the search and rescue front, I'm really excited about that week though. And then today I was like online, and there's a group in Colombia, search and rescue, that was asking for like crowdsource online help, looking for a paragliding pilot that's gone missing. And I've kind of started to pull the data together because Texar has developed this program I was telling you about called the ADI. So like the aerial drone, basically it's like you can fly a drone in a pattern and build this canvas work of imagery. And then you can select some unique colors of like, let's say this guy's glider and harness and hat, put it into the system, and it'll like auto scan for that. So I'm gonna, if I have some time after coaching's out of the way and running and everything else,
you have to do that first though.
Oh yeah.
He was getting distracted this morning.
I know, because it's like, search and rescue is fun because it's like you get to be like old school investigator in some aspects. And this was a cool like crowdsource thing to help somebody that's legitimately lost right now. They have people on the ground that are like following up on points that people are highlighting in these maps, but they're doing it manually right now. And it's like, well, if I can get it, then I can run it through a program to hopefully expedite the process.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
There's tons. It's like 30 gig of pictures right now.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are we at with time?
We're 1:03, so not bad.
Okay. I'll stop here. I have multiple other topics, but
perfect. I think it's a good
save
place.
them. Yeah.
And hopefully we can knock out something even on the road.
Yeah, we'll bring our mics and camera. Maybe we'll do a outdoorsy remote podcast
from the Taj Mahal tent.
Yep. Anyway, I'm not a camper.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Did you get the twinkle lights?
I got, as my Amazon purchase, I got string lights, we have the inflatable mattress, 3-bedroom tent, all the cooking stuff. This is for like 2 nights.
Yeah.
Gonna be loaded down.
I'm a germaphobe, so we talked about this last time. So it'll be good. You're gonna make me a nice fancy tent.
Yeah, and then you don't even have to do the 10-hour drive home. I'm putting you on a nice commercial flight. You can sit in the lounge, fly home.
Okay.
And I'll rough it for another week.
Yep, it'll be good.
Awesome.
All
so
right.
have a great spring break, everybody.
Yeah.
And we'll be back online after spring break travels.
Yep.
All right.
Cool.